Welcome to Stop Whining About Real Estate. Join us as we chat, sip, banter, and wine with the best in the biz. Grab a glass of your favorite vino, sit back, relax, and let's wine together.
Hey everybody, this is Emmanuel St. Germain from Stop Whining About Real Estate. Is that the name of our podcast? I keep forgetting, Sarah.
Today it is, yes.
I've got our co-host, Sarah Biernbaum, and our guest today is my good buddy, Danny Schwab. He is an owner of Keyrenter Property Management Company, and he personally manages one investment property that I have, and they do an absolute stellar job. But Danny, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Very excited to be here.
Awesome. Let's get started with first define a little bit what a property management company does, and then we can kind of explore from there.
Sure. So being in South Florida, typically people, when you bring up property management, they think you work for a homeowners association where there's 3,000 units, where I'm the opposite. I represent individual owners like yourself and anybody else, and we handle everything. So most of our clients typically are out of state or out of the country, and we handle everything. From the time of the closing, we pick up the keys, we then do inspection of the property, make sure that all the maintenance is in shape, that the property, if we need to update it, to paint it, to clean it, to get a new roof, we handle everything from there, and then we move on as a licensed realtor. We lease the property out on a one-year annual basis, or if it's a seasonal rental, which is popular here, part of the year, and we handle everything. We produce financial reports for our clients. It's really a soup to nuts kind of relationship where we act as the responsible party for the property from the time the client purchases it.
Okay. So to give an example, Sarah, like when I bought an investment property, I don't know how many years ago, 2-3 years ago, and I've seen this unit one time, and that's it. I've never been in it ever since. I've never had to collect a single paycheck. I've never had to fit. We just replaced an AC unit, but I didn't have to spend $1 out of my pocket to handle that. I literally haven't had to do a single thing. I didn't have to find the tenants. I didn't have to replace the tenants when we had new tenants. I literally haven't done anything. It's been like the absolute dream of someone, like myself, who I'm not a fixer-upper guy. I know that I know that a lot of people think I am a big builder.
Get your hands dirty.
I change my own oil. Yes, I definitely come across as that guy. But, contrary to popular belief, and that's not my strength.
Got it.
No, it's been a great experience working with you. I really appreciate owners that let us be the professional. We are very in tune with dealing with situations like replacing air conditioners, getting multiple quotes, and, making sure the client's happy with those services, but really letting us just, do our thing.
Take care of it.
Yeah. And in that scenario, too, is really like, I'm like, hey, Danny, can you go check? Does it really need to be replaced, or can we fix it? Do we have to spend $5,000, or is this a $500 fix? And,
right.
When it's because talk about this part, Danny, because for me, it is purely an investment, right? It's all about my return on my investment. I couldn't even tell you the address of the property. Like it's that far removed from my brain.
But then that means you're doing a really great job.
What's up?
That means you're doing a really great job.
He's doing an awesome job.
Yeah.
So what percentage of clients are dumb like me versus what percentage of clients?
You're one of the smartest people I know, but most of our clients
Did you hear that, Sarah?
I did. I heard
it's like kind of, let's say, 50-50 between what we call the accidental investor, which is someone who, let's say, owns a townhouse, they get married, or they get to that next phase in life where they buy a single-family home, but they don't want to sell it. Mm-hmm. Or they're moved to Atlanta or another state to get a job, and now they have this property. So that's a good portion. Another portion, maybe half of our properties, are investors like yourselves. One of the things I like to differentiate between me and other property managers and realtors, which I'm a realtor and I love working with realtors that don't do this professionally, is that they're not looking at the final return of the property 10 years from now, 15 years from now. I look at it as an annuity. I want to put money back into the unit whenever I can. I want to keep it updated. So let's say you take this property back in 10 years and you decide you want to live in it, you want to sell it, you want to give it to a child or something, that it's not in a shitty condition, that it's updated. Where
this might be our first swear word that we've had on our podcast.
I'm so excited about this.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a first. I'm just kidding.
He
Go
broke
for it.
the ice.
Where a lot of times, we get clients like, I've dealt with a property manager for many years, and the property comes back in a disgusting condition because they're not doing the routine inspections.
Right.
They're not The hard thing is deducting money from security deposits, holding people accountable. Hey, you flushed something down the toilet, we'll fix it, but you broke it, a child's toy, whatever it is. So that's really the hard part, and I think that's what separates us from a lot of other people. But, working with investors that are only interested in a cash-on-cash return becomes a little bit more difficult because they don't want to spend money to update their property. They don't want to take care of the unit. For me, when I work with someone like you who's willing to step up and put up big money for a brand new air conditioner to paint the unit when someone leaves, we can bring in a high-class resident. We can bring in someone that's going to live there long-term. And then when people go to view the property, it rents very quickly because it's in excellent condition.
Yeah.
Speaking of rents, so I don't know if you saw this, but I heard that our current president, Mr. Biden, has tried to put a cap, and we're a non-political affiliated show, but nonetheless, investors like myself, he was trying to put a cap on what we can increase the rents. What is your opinion of that in terms of how, not from a political standpoint, in terms of how it affects your job?
Right. So I moved to Florida in 2016 from the Communist Republic of California to avoid rental rules and rental regulations like that. I think it's absolutely ridiculous for someone to put a cap on how much someone can make money,
It's capitalism.
It's capitalism.
Why
right?
can't I get as much money as the public is willing to pay?
If they're saying the property, let's just throw out a number like $2,000, right? If they're saying the property is worth $2,000, you can only raise the rent by 5%. Why would someone like you go spend money on a brand new air conditioner and a brand new flooring, brand new paint, new ceiling fans, like everything we want to do to encourage high quality people that will pay their rent on time and take care of the property and be good members of the community? Mm-hmm. Right? Nobody would do that. If that happened, I think it would turn a lot of properties into slums, personally.
And that's the biggest problem with politics, in my opinion, is that when these bozos in Washington, and I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, when they do this, they need to listen to that side. I understand the concept of why you would put a cap from a renter's perspective. I understand that part. But play it out.
Right.
And listen to everything he just said, that you have just given me, the landlord, every incentive to cut corners every which way now because I'm not able to receive the true market rent for that property.
Right. And it takes all the incentives away to go that extra mile to provide excellent service to the clients. For me also, when you look at in a non-political way, right? It's really important for, as you said, small businesses to be able to operate. And when you have people in Washington or you have Silicon Valley coming in like they tried to do with Zillow to take over this market, it doesn't work. This is a local business. I am successful because I go to the properties. I have people go to the properties. I'm not trying to phone it in and do remote tours and do videos. And I love that realtors do that. I love the technology of it. But you need to go meet the people that are going to rent it.
Well, this is why a lot of your clients are out of state. You are here to do it for them.
Absolutely.
Imagine you as a tenant, or as a landlord, right? Like you're as a woman, I wouldn't want you going to collect rents and all that stuff.
No.
Like that's dangerous.
Yeah.
And
let
that's why
him walk around with his gun. Just kidding. But
but that's one of the beauties of technology too, right? Is that we have several levels of electronic rental payments that are available. So we can collect cash payments from residents without them having to give us cash. So you can go to 7-Eleven, CVS, Walmart. So for more lower income. Yeah, well, all of those, but literally residents that don't have bank accounts that are maybe lower income can go to 7-Eleven, Walgreens, all these places, pay cash at the checkout line, and that becomes an electronic payment to me. We're up to 97% of our residents pay electronically, and a lot of them don't have bank accounts or just paying cash. But you have to be on site. You have to do routine inspections. You have to send out notices. You have to call people when they don't pay. You have to demonstrate that you are the landlord, but you also have to do same-day plumbing, same-day air conditioning repairs, and make sure they're taken care of. You can't do one without the other. So it's really a hands-on job that's not going to be able to be done remotely or controlled by, as you said, the bozos in Washington.
I also think, though, from like an investor standpoint, like my dad, for instance, he has his home. It's fully paid off, and he is moving out of it, and he's moving elsewhere. And I was like, you have this property. It's fully paid. like rent it, collect the cash off of it because I mean it's just yours.
Right. And
he's
his
like, I don't feel like dealing with it. I don't feel like dealing with the tenants. I don't feel like dealing with any of it. And I was like, get a property management company. And he's like, I know, but then, you know, and I was like, trust me, just look into it. You have an asset. You have, you know, all of this equity sitting here. Don't get rid of it just because you don't feel like dealing with it. There's somebody else that will deal with it for you. And I think most people don't know that there is that option.
And exactly, I couldn't agree with you more. Like I said earlier, people assume you say you work in property management, that you work for a homeowners association. Mm-hmm. My competition is not the company down the street trying to do what I do. My competition is self-managing owners that make mistakes, that don't do background screening professionally, we do every kind of screening you can do. From social media background screening, looking to see what people are posting online, to the traditional running credit, police reports, tenant landlord cases, to interviewing people, to reading, calling their employers, calling their previous landlords, asking questions, looking at bank statements. I mean, you wouldn't believe how many people are fraudulent. I mean, we live in South Florida. It's shocking, right?
I'm pretty sure we believe it.
Yeah, your industry, I'm sure you get it just as much as me.
Yeah.
But if you do your due diligence, it is a very safe business to rent out your home. But if you're not working with a professional company, as you said, you're not doing those things, then of course it's scary. And if you've never done something, one of my biggest things that I can do with a owner is convince them that it's no longer their home. It's not the place where they raise their children, and it's not the special tree out back. Detach that from that and say, this is a business. It's an engine. How do you want to create your retirement, right? How do you want to make your life better and have income to do the things you want? Maybe you don't need a big house and you can downsize, still keep that income. Then you have a spread. I look at it all the time. Rent something out for $4,000 or $5,000, rent something for $2,000. You're making money each month. You're covering all your taxes, all your bills, and you're, as in South Florida, we all know, you're creating equity every day in this market, every single day.
I tell every single person that's buying real estate, my personal belief is you should never, ever sell, ever. The only reason I can think of that you would want to get rid of real estate, in my humble opinion, is that individual, that family doesn't have the ability to save enough for their deposit on their down payment on their next property. And that's why you would need to sell. In your dad's situation, for example, if anything, you would take, if he didn't have the cash, I would tell Dad, take a tiny little home equity line, enough to create the down payment on his next property. The tenant's going to be paying for that home equity line anyways, along with creating cash flow in profitability. Now he takes his retirement income. If I were him, I'd probably have you pay him a little bit too. You know what I mean? But
or take out a little bigger HELOC and buy another investment property with it.
Sure.
Yeah. I told him, I was like,
leverage.
I said, what you've got right now is everybody's dream, to have a house that's fully paid off, that you don't want to live in anymore, and you have an option to go live somewhere else that you already have financially taken care of.
It is
what
the dream.
Are you doing? Do not get rid of this house.
A wise man once told me that the only free money you get in this life is equity out of your home.
Yeah. You're calling him wise now too. Smart and wise.
For those of you who didn't hear, Danny pointed to the handsome gentleman in the middle of the thoughts. But no. So, all right, Danny, tell us. So obviously, you must run the gamut of the personality types. We are okay. Let's start here. What's the lowest person in rental amount that you have? How much rent are they paying? What's the highest? Give us an idea.
Gotcha. So from a seasonal rental standpoint, we manage a couple properties at an upscale community up north in Palm Beach Gardens, and we get about $22,000 to $25,000 per month during the high season.
If I have somebody who wants to rent a seasonal, am I connecting them with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
The only thing I
got a referral for you.
Great. The only thing I'm not into is the Airbnb style.
Gotcha.
Where there's turnover every 3 to 5 days. I do a minimum of 1 month. I love the seasonal rental game. It's a lot of fun. You're dealing with high net worth individuals. You're dealing with people from all over the world. And that's a lot of fun. I just rented a nice single family home for $7,000 in Boca West Country Club, 4-bedroom, 3-bath with a nice pool. So that's on the kind of the single family range higher. Those are 2 recent deals we did. I have a 1-bedroom, 1-bath condo that's on the market. We just lowered it to $1,600. Comes with 1 parking spot here in Boca, available. Really lovely small unit. Pool in the community if anybody's out there looking. So that's kind of the lower end, is the 1 bedrooms around $1,500-1,600.
Okay.
I have a couple of, I guess.
What's the most expensive you've ever done?
Probably a seasonal rental at about $30,000 a month. And I think the highest single family home we've rented per month on an annual 1-year basis was $9,000 a month.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. So within that framework, tell us some, you got any good stories about any crazy tenants? I don't know. You see so many people and you're seeing them like they're
All
not
I have
on
is
their
crazy.
turf.
Sorry to cut you off. All I have is crazy stories.
Perfect. Well, trust me too. I work with Sarah.
So we have a resident that's, I guess the nicest way to say he's a couple.
Almost got her.
He's a couple sandwiches short of a picnic.
I love a picnic.
Lived there for a couple years. We just went to do a renewal. We didn't raise his rent the previous year. So the owner decided, hey, this is going to be his 3rd year there. The house is renting for currently $3,500 a month. We said that the renewal rate would be an additional $250 a month. So rent raised $250 a month, about $3,000 for the year. Not a huge amount. He went berserk. He started shooting his gun off in the yard. We did a Freedom of Information Act to look at the police reports and everything at this property. The police have been there now 18 times. He threatened the neighbor to shoot him. He exposed himself to the neighbor's mother-in-law, who's 93 years old.
Oh, wow.
He reported me to the real estate commission for lies. So you deal with lunatics sometimes that you have no idea, and all of a sudden you can't come to a business arrangement, and they lose their mind.
So what do you do?
I call up a good friend of ours, and we evict them. We follow all laws, all Florida statutes. We work with a really, I'm allowed to say the name, right?
Jaren's been on, he's been a guest on our
Jaren, Kelly, Grant, and Tanis are my regular attorneys. They work in the whole state of Florida, and they're amazing. So we evict them. We send a non-renewal notice, a legal document, even though we aren't obligated to do that, and then we go to eviction. Unfortunately, we had a suicide at a residence recently. 2 months ago, we had a drug overdose, and a resident died. So, these are situations where the owners have never dealt with anything like that. They have no idea what to do. And it's unfortunately become, in my career, not a regular thing, but something I've dealt with many, many times. People passing away, dying, people refusing to follow the rules. And the main thing is that you always have to treat everybody with kindness and respect, because my philosophy is if you corner a cat's going to come out scratching. Mm-hmm. If you approve someone to move into one of your properties, you're running like what I've already talked about. We are really doing a thorough financial background on them. And if something happens and all of a sudden they can't pay rent or something, there's probably a tragedy in their life with a minimum of divorce, sick child, lost their job. So it's really about just connecting with them and getting through avoiding your phone call, not speaking to you, and trying to connect with them.
Getting to the bottom of it.
Getting to the bottom and just saying, I'm here to help you. Meaning we can terminate your lease, not evict you. We can give you positive recommendations in the future. We can help you get on your back and your feet. Maybe we can move you into a studio or a 1-bedroom where we can help you and your family not have an eviction, not have anything negative. And when you get back on your feet, I'll be your best friend. I'll write recommendations to help you find something. Or the opposite is we evict you, we write letters to the credit bureau, we sully your reputation. Yeah. So it's a term that I've coined called buying keys. I'll be willing to give them money at the move out. They sign a mutual release, they're gonna walk away. I'll rent a box truck. I have a crew that will help them load up, stop by the recycle center, grab some boxes. I have a huge amount of boxing, moving supplies in my warehouse, in my storage unit, not warehouse. And you either help them or you evict them. I'd much rather help somebody. Yeah.
I think also to that point, sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but a lot of the situations that you just mentioned, most owners, even if they have investment properties 1, 2, 3, or 4, they don't know how to always deal with those situations. And so then it becomes this crazy kind of crisis in their life as the investor. And so I think, your expertise, your connections, you have a guy that can do this. You have a person that can do this. You know who to call when there's a suicide, a drug, like you are so well equipped and connected to handle all of those things that it's because you're a professional and this is what you do and you're the expert. Yeah. Most people would be like, I have no idea what to do.
And they panic, like you said. They absolutely panic. And unfortunately, a lot of my job is talking people off the ledge, whether it's a resident, whether it's an owner who's fighting with their neighbor or fighting with the HOA, and it's just calming everybody down, letting everybody know that I have their back, that I'm not taking sides, that I'm a referee. I'm going to settle it. We're going to do the right thing. And my favorite thing is that I kind of do things a little bit differently. My owners do not sign the leases. Their name is on the lease. I sign the leases. That way, in situations, I have the ability to terminate the lease. I don't do anything without the owner's approval. But if I get into a situation and the owner and I cannot agree on the proper legal way to handle things, then I terminate the management agreement and I walk away and I let the owner deal with it. I'm the professional. I'm going to do it the way that is the right way to do it. I have a fiduciary responsibility to my clients. I'll always put that above and beyond. But still, there's people that will want us to handle things inappropriately, unprofessional, illegal, and you can't do it. Right. I mean, it's really mostly about you guys are in a business every day where you're dealing with people that have heated emotions. Yeah. They don't get what they want. They're frustrated. And it's about finding, as you would say, out-of-the-box solutions,
right. No, I really like the emotional aspect, not the emotional, I would say the human aspect of what you were saying, especially because I feel, the same way. If the tenant, and again, I couldn't even tell you the name of the tenant that's renting my particular investment property, but if that person lost their job, if they're honest and you don't wait till you're 2-3 months behind before you ask for help, I think that's another piece that in general where people get it wrong all the time. There's nothing wrong with asking for help, right? Whether it's somebody who, listen, I wish the person who committed suicide had asked for help. Yeah. The person who overdosed, I wish they had asked for help. I think that we sometimes let pride get in our way, and it takes away from the ability of someone else to show their heart. We have hearts. Right. I'm a business person, but I have a heart. It's and I think in that manner. All that to say that I really like what you were saying about the ability that this isn't just a black and white situation where you're either on one side or the other. If you communicate, if you do things properly, I'm there, I got your back, we'll find a solution, whatever that is.
There's always a solution.
I think the key, though, to making you so successful at being able to connect with them is that you're here and you're in this with them. So the tenant that's coming in, that's moving in, that's renting from you, you're not just a phone call once in the beginning. Absolutely. And then calling them in a year and being like, listen, I haven't gotten rent in 3 months. What's going on? And they're like, this guy's a stranger to me. I'm not going to talk to him about what's going on in my life. Like, you're in it with them, and so you're able to connect with them, and they know you and they're comfortable with you. And I think that's a big piece of it. And that's the relationship building piece that all of us do every day with everything that we do in our professional lives that I think make the biggest difference.
How did you get back on your feet when you got evicted?
I've never been evicted, but I've rented a whole lot.
No, what's crazy about that is that my hardest relationships are for residents that when we pick up a client that has a tenant in place and we start working with them and we explain to them the rules and how we work and ask them to get on the the tenant portal to put in maintenance requests so that we can do same day air conditioning, and they don't want to do it. And they want to continue to call the owner, or they want to call somebody and not follow our protocols and get on our system versus the person that we meet and we introduce them to our system and we promise them certain things that they want. And then we deliver then again and again. Then when someone has a problem, they know that we're going to be there for them. Yep. It's not a stranger relationship.
No, they trust you.
They trust me, for sure.
But also inherent in what you're saying, what I keep hearing is about systems and processes. And it's the same thing in our industry. And I tell everyone about our strength is our operations, right? It's when you are operationally sound, when you have systems and processes, and it's when individuals have a a loan process that doesn't go so smooth, it's because they're not following a system.
Right.
They're not following that process. Right? Mm-hmm. I need water too.
No, it's funny.
It's not like you're getting sick.
I was speaking to a person that we know on the way here, and they were saying, make sure you say hi for me, and they were saying how they don't go into banks and deal with people, and they don't fill out paperwork, but they've done multiple deals with you in the past, and that working with you and your team, it makes it that you guys do have systems and processes. I know that, but you guys make sure the client's happy and you take care of them in the way they can. Not everybody's going to be filling out paperwork online, and certain people need that extra help. And they said that they've had an amazing relationship with you in the past. Neil Elkin, Earth and Turf.
They're saying hi to me or him?
To you, Sarah.
Got it.
No, it's great to hear. I was literally just meeting with some clients, and it was interesting. And a piece of what they were talking about was, one individual, he was telling me his story, and there was a human aspect to his story about going through a divorce. And, I think that some people, and I think it's just human nature, they wanted to, I don't know that justifies the right word, maybe rationalize why we were going to see that they had bad credit, why they had an issue. And, I tell people all the time, I am not judging you or your circumstance or whatever has happened to you. Anything can happen. It can happen to any of us. Anybody can lose their job. Anyone can have a death in the family. You can have, there are so many different things. Life is hard sometimes. And so when we do what we do, we're not judging. Just be honest about it. I tell the clients, I'll help you file your tax returns the way they're supposed to be filed. I'll help you reverse engineer to make sure that if home ownership is your dream and that's what you want to accomplish next year, not a problem. If you want my help increasing your credit score, not a problem. I'll show you how to do all these different things. What is, using that mentality, using a little bit of the concept of what we're talking about, what do you think is your greatest asset as an individual? What is it that you think you bring to the property management world?
Well, I think one thing I bring is a lifetime of experience. I bought my first investment property in 1994 in Chicago. I made a lot of mistakes. I lived those mistakes, and I never wanted to put myself in that position again to feel a lack of control of the property, of the process. So I think for me, it's you can say effort, you can say hard work, but for me, it's really if I had to signify one thing, it's my experience, because I always am open to learning. I feel that every deal I've ever been in, whether it's a real estate purchase, it's representing a client on a purchase, representing an investment property client, walking the property, talking to vendors, talking to contractors, talking to the guy from FPL who's telling you about this issue, is that I'm always open to learning. I don't think I know everything. I don't think I'm the ultimate expert. I always ask people's opinion. And I think when you run something like a business like that, where you're very open to, even though you have this knowledge and experience, but you're open to other people's opinions and the way the world is changing so fast with technology, I think that would be my greatest asset, is to be open to change, even though I'm very locked in on my processes.
So speaking of technology, because you gave me a great idea when you were chatting about that, how do you think AI is going to affect your business?
Well, first of all, for someone who's not the best writer out there, AI makes me seem a lot more intelligent than I am. So it's just speed, right? When we take on new properties and we're running and gunning, there's so much going on. The idea of I have an AI chatbot on my website. It's called Amy Chat. And when I go in and I put in bullet points of a property description, it spits out a beautiful written description. When I have a response to a client, or I have a response that I need to write to the real estate commission with this psycho issue that I'm dealing with, it makes me sound, it puts together all my jumbled thoughts and all of my things into a very well-executed document. I think it speeds things up. I believe that it takes employees that maybe aren't as educated and experienced as me and brings them up to a much higher level.
Help them write more like thorough emails and stuff.
Absolutely. And be able to respond. I think that more with the, it sounds like an inside joke. But I think also it enables people to have a response that is more in line with our company model. You know, what we have a system in place and we do it.
Because you're not worried about automation. You're not worried about it taking away human aspects
Absolutely
of what you do.
I'm not, because again, when
Everything
I reference
that he does is human.
right, when I
touch.
referenced like Zillow before, how
But he's
Zillow
one
tried to come
person.
in the
You have a
market.
team. He has a team. He's not the only, like he's not just doing everything himself. I get your skill set 100% is not something that can be duplicated. What I'm getting at, which is, listen, I think in a certain in a certain amount of time, I think many jobs are going to change in the mortgage industry as AI evolves, and that's why I was just trying to get a perspective from property management.
So when you look at this is the same conversation they had 100-some years ago when they invented the cotton gin. And it's going to take away labor jobs, right? As we evolve with technology, I think there's always going to be people's careers that are going to end and new careers that are going to start, new opportunities are going to start. But I think, again, when I look at it, and I did look at it a very narrow aspect, is that we are a business where we have to be on site. I have to walk the property or bring in a professional and say, well, your soffit has some water damage, it's starting to bubble. If we deal with that now, it's $400. If we wait 6 months and get through a hurricane season, you need a new roof. We need to repair all the walls on the inside of your house. That's tens of thousands of dollars. So I do think that in the world of property management, it's going to ease my labor costs. I think it's going to reduce my, how many people need to operate, but it's not going to change the aspect. AI is not going to go out and fix a busted pipe. AI is not going to replace an air conditioner, right? Nobody in Silicon Valley is going to be able to come into my market with remote team members in Asia, right, and do a better job than me.
Right.
When an investor is buying a property, let's say if we've got an investor that is interested in using your services, at what point should they reach out? Before closing, after closing? Like, is there an introductory period that is optimal for us?
Well, as I mentioned before, I love working with realtors, right? So for me, when you have a client, for all the realtors out there, you have a client looking at investment properties. I know how hard it is to come up with comps off the MLS. We have all kinds of software platforms that are based off of property management software, not off the MLS. So transactions that don't happen on the MLS. So I love when realtors involve me and say, hey, I have a client looking at these 3 investment properties. We're going out tomorrow to look at these, like Matt Swanson from the Swanson team sends that to me, and I send him reports on all 3. And they could be the same price point, the units, they could be within a mile of each other, but the rental rates are extremely different. Yeah. So at that point, I think it's a great opportunity to involve me, get these reports from me, understand what your best investment strategy is, because it's very different buying a property that you might want to live in one day, right, and renting it out in the meantime to cover your expenses, or strictly an investment property.
I just had an idea for you.
Oh, God.
Here it goes. Well, no, I had an idea you could monetize. So one of the loan products that we use is called a debt service coverage ratio loan, a DSCR. Favorite. And it requires no income. The whole loan is based on what is considered the market rent. But an appraiser, my guess is, and I don't know this to be true, but
they have no clue what the market rent is.
My guess is that from a market rent, they're using MLS.
Yes.
But what if I introduce you to a panel of appraisers, and instead of them I wonder if they're able to, within their bylaws or whatever their guidelines, if they're able to outsource the market rent portion from someone like yourself, Danny. One, it saves them time, right? 2, we're going to get a more accurate number. So
and they're going to close more deals because the MLS is very inaccurate, and it's very much based upon that one snapshot in time, right?
I'm going to call an appraisal management company and see if that's an option for you, because that might be cool.
Yeah,
and then you just sell it.
Yeah, and that's one of my favorite things is helping out young investors, and not necessarily young people that are new to the investment game that have never done it before. They don't know where the holes are. They don't get a lot of things that are normal issues that come up, and we love to be a part of it. We also have local knowledge, and there's a lot of communities that might look good on paper that I wouldn't even think of trying to rent to. There's a lot of people that come down to Florida and they think it's a great investment to buy a 55 up condo community, which is one of the worst investments you can make. And they don't understand that, and they don't understand that a lot of HOA properties have a lesser value than a non-HOA property. Right? They don't understand the rules of HOAs. There's many people that live in the United States that don't even understand what a homeowners association is,
right.
Yeah.
or all the nonsense that goes into it.
I can tell you, I never heard of it until I moved down here.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have them in New England.
Yeah, like we don't have them in Chicago.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had clients buy investment properties from realtors who say that they can rent in the community, and the community says, no, we only rent 30% of the community, and you're up.
Do you have an HOA where you live, Sarah?
Yeah. So we pay $70 for all of the mailboxes to match.
Are you on the board?
I'm not.
Love to see you do that.
Why?
Well, I mean, you get to know some people, turn
Maybe
into
they
a little
need to buy a
business for
mortgage.
yourself. I was on the board for my HOA for, 5 years. It's awful.
My HOA seems
worst.
like a lot of people complain about a lot of things are not important.
Everybody complains. It's all they do.
We call them condo commandos.
It's, who
But I live in a
complains?
single family home, and I'm not in a gated community, and there's no amenities. We just have matching mailboxes.
The worst part about HOAs and the complainers is that they're nobody goes to the meetings. Like, they don't
Right.
go.
Right.
I served on the board for 5 years in my community, and I live in a beautiful community. It was awesome. They do, and everybody that serves, they all want the best for the community. Like, where I get that there are condo commandos. Ours is a townhouse, but everyone that I've always served with always had the best interest of the community at heart. And you go, and then you hear people complain about the worst little things. Right. It's like, you know what? You don't like it? There's the board. No, I didn't see you at any meetings.
Right.
I didn't see you show up. I didn't see you volunteer. Yeah. But you're worried about the little flower in front of your house. Right.
Why is it that you want me to join the community HOA?
Well, no, I just thought it was a business opportunity for you as a business development manager, maybe a little more networking. I don't know.
Oh, got it. More networking.
Well, maybe we find out when someone before they foreclose, and we can turn that
Not
into
a single house in my community has gone up for sale since we bought.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. So it's desirable.
Very.
Mm-hmm. Business opportunity.
Yep.
So I have a question for you. Since
Okay.
I feel
Good.
like you have, more of a pulse, right? Do you think, do you think we're going to see 6% interest rates or 9%?
So Loanstradamus, as some
Wait,
people
Danny,
call
do you
me.
know about Loanstradamus?
Oh, I've heard many.
Okay.
Many,
I've done commercials in our BNI group for Loanstradamus. All right. So finally, here, without sounding too boring, because the economics is boring, but essentially everything that's been happening is Powell's been wanting, the Fed's been wanting inflation to come down to 2%. And what they want is they've been wanting the employment numbers to kind of break a little bit, the labor to break a little bit. And as soon as that happens, they use the ability to reduce interest rates as a way to counter that. But now, as inflation is starting to get low, you have to be careful of the opposite, which is called deflation. So I think what you're starting to see, they're called this. It's the premium or spreads on interest rates, which allows us to make more money or to give more money, things like that. But essentially, what's happening today is that you're going to see, and everybody, the markets are betting on a cut in September. And I think once the cuts happen, you're going to see it happen again in December, and you're going to see 4, 5, 6 cuts next year. So I think you're going to end the year, this year, mortgage rates, I firmly believe are going to be either high 5s, low 6s before the end of the year, which
You heard
is
it here
fantastic.
first.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I heard, I read
Timestamp. What's the date today? 7/17?
I heard Mr. Trump say today that he would keep Mr. Powell in office as the Fed chairman if he was elected. So I think that shows some continuity for our system.
He also had mentioned something. I mean, again, so before he had mentioned about wanting to have more of a say in Fed policy, which
Scary.
it's both.
Yeah.
It's both. You have to listen. I can't imagine ever wanting to be president. Like, there's so much to know, and you can't be an expert in all these things. So you have to surround yourself with experts, and you have to trust their opinions.
It's like being a CEO.
You have to trust your business development manager. For the record, I just want to say that I have more the Michael Jordan philosophy. Democrats and Republicans need property management services. I sell property management services, so I'm non-political.
We are the absolute, yes, we are the Green Party, and I don't mean the environmental party. Just, no, yes, money goes on both sides.
Yeah.
So, all right, Sarah, give us a story. Do you have any rental stories other than the time you were evicted, which didn't happen? I'm just teasing her out. But
I mean, I was a very late buyer. I bought for my first time when I was 40, which was only a year ago. I saw you coming in.
I was coming in with a joke on that one. Wow, you must have had a lot of appreciation in the last 10 years.
I think I was 39 when I bought. And so I've rented most of my life, all of my life, and I've been out on my own since I was about 17. So I have moved quite a bit and done a lot of rentals. I will say, when you were talking about putting a cap on the rent and what landlords would do if there wasn't an incentive to kind of keep the place nice, I've moved into places where, like, they've painted over to have fresh paint, but, like, painted over every single electrical outlet so you couldn't plug anything in.
Right, couldn't open a window.
Couldn't open windows. They were painted shut, literally. We had one, I lived up north for a while in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, and it was a brownstone, and we lived on the 4th floor, and the owner of the building controlled the heat, and it was those big old school radiators that made a ton of noise in the pipes overnight, and he would shut it off during the day.
Oh, wow.
So I, at the time, worked in restaurants, and so I was home during the day because I worked all night, and I remember I would put, like, a down coat on, Uggs, hat, and just, like, sit on the couch and just be, like, completely frozen because he would turn it off during the day, and you didn't really have control over it.
I owned a building like that in Chicago in the early 2000s. It had a boiler in the basement.
Yeah.
The thermostats, they had when I bought the building, had a lock on it.
Oh, yeah.
And the guy was telling me, like, we don't go above 62. I'm like, it's December.
Yeah.
You know, like.
That's cruel and unusual punishment.
That same building, I mean, it was in a great part of Philadelphia, but the basement is where the laundry was, and you had to pay, I think, $75 for the wash, and another 75 cents. But the downstairs basement looked like the set of Saw, the movie.
It's a dungeon.
And so the staircase was like this really skinny wood staircase that was really, it moved when you went up it. And as you walked down, there was a room, it was all cement, and there was a wood paneled door, and it was dark, and you couldn't see what was in there. And I would never open the door because I was terrified, but there was, like, spaces between the slats, and I was like, there could be an animal living in there, there could be a human being, there could be a couple human beings in there. And I would just, like, race past it and get to where the laundry was and, like, dump my laundry and then, like, fly up the stairs. And then go back up to my ice cold apartment.
I don't think I've ever, I think you're the first property manager that I ever met. I don't think I guess my townhouse has one, but they've been like the gigantic companies. Right. And, it's a whole different experience. I much prefer my experience with you. And, obviously it's a little, I don't know if it's any different from my perspective because we're friends, so I will text you as opposed to whatever the normal mode of operation is for an average individual. But it's been an awesome pleasure to have you on, Danny. And any parting thoughts before we let you go?
No, I mean, my only parting thoughts is that we hear all the time there's fear in the market, and there's fear about buying, and wait till the election and wait for this. The best time to buy real estate was 10 years ago. The next best time to buy real estate is today. Yeah. We're in a great area in South Florida. It's a great way to diversify your retirement, to diversify your holdings. Property management to a lot of people is not something they know about, and it's a growing profession. And I think for everybody, the dream has always been in America is to own your own real estate. And if you can't afford to buy it today, to move into it, buy it, invest in it, rent it out. Within 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, then you own it. It's another way to get into home ownership. It's another way to protect your family's future. I mean, the greatest way to transfer wealth is through real estate. So for me, it's about helping people. There's nothing better than that first-time investor, that first-time buyer, or someone who's terrified to move out of their house and can't sell it. They're upside down. rent it out. You know, we're here. No obligations with most people. Like, take a look at it. I just think it's a great way, if you're not completely liquid, to get into the game. You know, once you're in the game, it's addictive, right? And then you want to buy more.
If we have any investors or anyone wanted to get a hold of you, what's the best way? Agents, anybody? Actually, real quick, tell them you have a really cool thing regarding agents that protects the agents.
Oh, absolutely.
Real estate agents. So obviously, we deal with a lot of real estate agents. I don't think you know this. So talk about that program real quick, and then as you finish that, give your digits and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, you know, I love, as I mentioned, realtors are a major part of our marketing, of our connection. So we have what we call a realtor referral program. If a realtor provides me with a client, what I do with the realtor is I guarantee that they make the same amount of money if they would rent out the property, which here in Florida is half a month's rent. So I do all of the background screening. I guarantee the tenant stays a full year. If the tenant doesn't stay a full year, I replace the tenant for free. I put it back on the MLS. I don't charge the owner, it's guaranteed. The realtor gets that half a month's rent that they would get if they did the job. The owner gets the guarantee, and a realtor, I sign a contract, I sign any agreement they want that I'll never buy or sell any real estate with that realtor. All I'm doing is gaining a new client, and it's great for me. It's great for the realtor. And as I mentioned earlier, I could really help that realtor with investors. I could provide them. I'm happy to walk any property with any investor with the realtor. I'm happy to preview properties for realtors if they're not around or it's in another area. A lot of realtors down here in North Broward, South Palm Beach County. I operate all the way up to Port St. Lucie. I can cover territories for them. And again, I'm not here to steal anybody's clients. I'm here to grow. Yeah. So I have a couple different websites: Keyrenter South Florida, Keyrenter Fort Lauderdale, 954-715-6542 is our business line. Also, you can text that number. Happy to be of service to anybody. No obligation. Just want to get people in the game. The more people that are buying investment properties, the better it is for all of us. It's better for the economy. It's more loans for you.
Absolutely. More loans for Nostradamus is always a good thing. And thank you so much for being on. And everyone, I can personally vouch for Danny and his team. They are absolutely fantastic. If you need a property manager, please make sure you reach out. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Okay, that's enough whining for one day. We are so happy that you could join us today on Stop Whining About Real Estate. So please, not only listen, but subscribe, follow us, download, share, and if you're feeling it, give us a 5-star review. Hey, and if you'd like to be a guest on the show, please email stopwhining@choicemortgage.com. Thanks so much.